Okay, so we're going to go over some ideas, and then we'll let you practice it in just a second. And the essential question this time is, how can you write and evaluate an nth root of a number? So I want to go over some ideas really quick. And so we've talked about square roots before, and when you have a square root, it's a number times itself, and that would be the answer. But here we're talking this idea of to the nth root, so it can go as high as we need it to go. So let's start by illustrating with the cube root. The cube root of 8 would be, another way to write that would be 8 to the 1/3 power. Let me magnify that 1/3, it's a little hard to see. And so 8 to the 1/3 power. And a way to think about that would be saying 8 was the same thing as in factor form as 2 times 2 times 2. So if I were to do 1/3 of 2 times 2 times 2, well, the answer would just be 2. That would be 1 out of the 3, right? Or what if I were to do 2/3? If I were to do 2/3 of 2 times 2 times 2, well, the answer would just be 2 of those factors, 2 times 2, which would be 4. So this is how you would handle it if it was in a power form as a fraction. But there's another way we can write this. So let's look at this here, and it's called the cube root. So if we had 2 to the 3rd power, or 2 cubed, by the way, cubed is no longer a plane, it's no longer 2 dimensions, it'd be like a box. It's 3-dimensional, like you could actually put something inside of it now, right? So cubic feet is like how they sell lots of things, cereal, grass, all kinds of things that can be put in containers, right? So if we had this idea of a cube root, we had 2 to the 3rd power, or 2 cubed. To undo that, we could also write it, instead of as a exponent, to undo it, we would write it as a radical. And so we'd put the 3 on the outside, and that means we're no longer doing the square root. This number here is what would indicate the index, would indicate to what power we're taking out of now. And remember that 8 cubed is the same thing as 2 to the 3rd power cubed. It's the same thing, right? And so the answer would be 2, as we just looked up here. So a quick observation is that this up here, 8 to the 1/3 power, is the same thing as saying 8 to the cube root. Yeah. Just a quick vocabulary review. This is called the indexed. The nth power that is 2. It's called the index. So what would 81 to the 4th power, or to the 4th root? I'm sorry, we're doing roots now, not powers. What would that be? Well, what times what times what is 81? Well, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. So if we're doing to the 4th, we're taking 1 of the 4, which would equal 3. Another way to write that would be 81, and you could do 1 to the 4th. And you would take 1 to the 4th of these. Usually we'll write it in radical form rather than write it as a fraction x in the powers. And the reason that's true is because 3 is a 4th root of 81. Let's go over some rules here, and then we'll illustrate it, and then you will have a term. Blah, ha, ha. Okay, so the core concepts. Real nth roots of a, where a is just a number. Okay, so let n be the integer greater than 1, and let a be a real number. So this a is going to be a real number, and this n is going to be a number that's, or an integer that's greater than 1. Let me see if I get a little closer on that. A little bit closer. It's a little blurry, isn't it? Maybe I could write it out. A, and then an N is on the outside. The N and the A. Okay, so that it's telling you right now that equals the same thing as A to 1 over that number. Okay, and let me give an example. It says if it's n is even, a is greater than 1, then a has 2 real nth roots. So let's see if we can find an example of that. Oh, sorry. I skipped one, didn't I? If n is odd, then a has 1 real nth root. So let's do that first. And someone is knocking on my door, so I will stop right here, and we will continue this in just a second.